Welcome to the 19.9 podcast. We're here today with Jared Truby, who has been a semi-frequent guest. Now, I think this is maybe the third time. We did some past redrafts. We did the 1996 draft, arguing about Ray Allen versus Allen Iverson. I've also got Robert Wire here hosting. So welcome to the show, guys. How are you?
I'm great. How about y'all?
Ready.
All right, I gotta start art. Besides the artwork that we've been discussing first, I always got to start with Jared talking a little coffee. I just made Robert some coffee, not Cat and Cloud this time, although I highly recommend people check out the coffee that you all roast and produce. But we had some Coffee Collective this time. Pretty.
You're
delicious.
going from that European vibe, are you?
Yeah. He liked it.
It's good.
Yeah, it's good.
It's my guys, dude. Yeah, they're good people. I drank coffee today from Congo, actually, and it's crazy fruity. It's on the whole thing. DRC Congo.
Hey, okay, so that's the one I just got in. So I know that we're going to side tangent here for a minute, but how did you guys connect with that? Because I feel like sometimes, and this goes to basketball too, like the countries that have, let's say, less than ideal political situations, sometimes for hoops as well as for coffee. How did you navigate those waters? Or did you have like a buyer that helped you out? Because it's just, NBA is really trying to do the like NBA Africa, I think, and find the talent and get them to safe places. But it's hard. There's logistics.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You got to have somebody on the ground in Africa that's not us at this point, and pretty much all across the board. So there's a few people who are trying to do what we do in Central America and everywhere else that we work over there. And so we've connected with a few people over there and they got that going. But the coffee you're going to drink, it's wild. It's like fruit punch, but it's got that earthy thing going on. You're going to have yourself a nice little story in your mouth.
Awesome.
Maybe we'll try that. We'll try that after we get done here. So I wanted to then just talk. I'm going to throw it to Robert just to talk about any thoughts about the draft, because he had a team that he was really interested in. My Bulls, they picked at 18, which once in a while something can work out. The Warriors there, or the Kings, maybe, if you want to jump in on the Kings.
What about them, dude? They don't even count as a team anymore.
I know. But Robert loves the Pacers. He even went to a draft party.
That's pretty awesome.
They had quite a night. So what'd you think?
I mean, I thought the draft went pretty good. I mean, I was on pins and needles thinking that Ivy might drop down to us. I mean, it was right there. I was like, well, maybe they'll trade with Detroit, but I'm guessing Detroit wanted way too much.
Why didn't they trade with Sacramento?
I think Sacramento wanted too much. I think they're just I don't want to say they're a horrible franchise, but it just seems like there's a good chance that they could have traded with the Pacers even and still got Murray.
Right.
Detroit wanted a guard. So, I mean, I don't know, but I guess they just wanted too much. I don't know. But the guy that I think that was the craziest, and we talked about him, and you put him at your number 3, and he went number 7, was Sharp. I still cannot believe that he went 7th in that draft. Like, there is nothing that shows that he is guaranteed to be a good player in the NBA. He had a couple of workouts. He had his high school film, and that's it. Like, that is just way too little for the 7th pick in the NBA draft.
Right.
I just like what he did. I mean, I just think that's a hard thing to evaluate. But every year there's a guy that goes like 15th, like Giannis, and you're like, that guy does not look like he can play in the NBA, and now he's an all-timer. And I'm not saying he's that, but you kind of have to watch some of the film and then just take a guess. Like, I just think too, this is life, and I'm sure, you guys just having the length of our working careers, you can see like the people that you've hired or seen hired around you. It's just like sometimes it's just hard to predict how much someone can grow. In a lot of it just depends on the space that they're in. Like does the team or the organization develop them? I don't know. What do you think, Jared?
No, I mean that's a lot of where I'm at too. Especially after watching Hustle and stuff, and dealing with people and bringing up talent. So many times it really comes down to like, what does the people who are hiring, right, drafting, what do they see that's got potential in terms of their organization? And that's where maybe I'm hating a little bit on the Kings. It's like somebody on that organization is like not something's not aligned, right? Yeah. They have too many long years of shit not going right, and so that's like there's something obvious. And then to come, we'll talk about it later, right? It's just like get into Hustle and have it all be brought kind of forefront again. So like whether it's hyper accurate, it feels like it's pretty close to accurate, being a little bit inside basketball in this case. It feels like, how are those people going to develop, and what's the relationship going to be like? And that's, the mental games, all those things come into play. So you're right. Like, I don't know. So many of these people come and then don't turn out to be anything. And then, 2 or 3, 5 of them become, like whatever, the 1996 draft, you have all these names.
Yeah.
It's like a hot time, and then it's not a hot time. And this kind of feels like maybe we have a little bit of a sort of a hot draft. It's hard to tell though.
Yeah. It feels like, at least from the hype of it, it's, it's pretty up there, but 50% of the first rounders are gone within 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the people that we probably think are going to be the best probably aren't, right? Yeah. It's probably going to be some mystery guys, and maybe it is Sharp. I'm not saying it's not. Maybe he has people telling him what to do and not play at Kentucky, and maybe it was their fault that he didn't want to play. Maybe they were like, hey, why are you going to show yourself? You're going to be a top 10 pick and get money and, change our whole family, if you just sit out and don't get hurt.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know if I would compare him to Giannis or even the Hustle, just because, they came from nowhere,
Yeah.
Like,
well, it depends on how you feel about Canada. He comes from Canada, so
there's been a lot of good guys from Canada lately.
I know. Yeah, I just had to throw some shade at Canada.
How funny is it that like the Ball brothers are so much more famous than Giannis family, even though Giannis is actually a proper superstar.
Crazy.
Oh, it is crazy.
Yeah.
I know that some of that's Steve. That's a different conversation, but whatever. Just
maybe not now.
Like,
he's got that Disney hype train.
Did you watch it?
And no, I didn't watch that one yet. But
it's really good.
The championship.
That
he led a team to.
Oh, just
which
that.
None of those Ball brothers, I don't think, are ever doing that. No matter how much you love or don't love them, I'm like, come on.
Oh,
anyway.
Now I hope so, because Lonzo's on the Bulls now, so I want that to happen somehow.
Well, we've already brought.
He's going to stay with the Bulls.
Oh yeah, he's going to stay for at least a couple of years.
I mean, he's a free agent. I assume so too, but it's just being the free agent. I'm like, nobody's talking about him. I think he's staying too.
Yeah.
Since we've already brought it up, we might as well talk about it a little bit. You haven't watched it, but just a kind of a recap of that Rise. It is a really good movie. I wish that it wasn't a Disney movie because I feel like
Disney did it, right?
Yeah, no, I mean it was really good, but I feel like if it was like not Disney, and they could cuss and they could show like more in depth of what really happened to his family, more violence, more like it would really bring out the story even more. Like they kind of puffed around it, they couldn't get they couldn't become legal because they don't do that. They don't want people to do that. Like where it would have probably been different if it was somebody else produced it, but it definitely made me like him more. I mean, the fact that he came from where he came and they had absolutely nothing, and they could have got deported by him going to the draft, and if they if he doesn't make it, I mean, that's a big risk, and him not wanting to take certain draft positions because he didn't want to go without his family.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big risk.
Right.
He'd have been better off, just saying I'll go wherever, and then later I'll figure it out. But he's the way their family is, and that's probably why his brothers are so successful too. They had to switch shoes in the middle of games. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah,
like what they had to do, like ride an hour and a half just so they could play. I mean, and they had to sneak and not tell their dad because his dad was a big soccer person and didn't really like basketball. I mean, it's pretty crazy, really.
I mean,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth watching, even though it's Disney. But
Disney knows their audience. I mean, that's the bottom line. Is like they talk about the best at developing the things that are perfect for their platform. I mean, it just fits on their platform, and I think that's the audience for it. I mean, the cool thing is that little kids can watch it, and they don't need to know about that type of stuff yet. And if people are interested, you can find out more about the kind of depths of it. But I think they portray enough. I mean, to think about what I think all of us, sit in a place where I forget sometimes how lucky I am to just have been born born here rather than having to try to sneak across borders and then selling sunglasses on the side of the street. I mean, it's crazy. To think about that's his life until he gets drafted in the NBA. He's never had a smoothie before.
And that's probably why he's so laid back, and wants to joke, and he realizes that how fortunate that he is and doesn't take it for granted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. He's got that zest for life because it came from so much. I mean, it's like that whole story that he had to run to his first practice because he gave his whole check to his family and didn't think ahead. And was like, oh, damn, how do I pay for this taxi? I guess I'm running. I'm used to that anyway, but still.
You sound like you speak from personal experience.
Well, I mean, I've been homeless twice. It's fine.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, dog.
Well, let's go. Let's switch gears and talk a little bit about the Warriors. And I'm going to start here just for fun because I saw you posted playing in the Santa Cruz Warriors gym, right? So a little connection. Tell us a little bit about that, and then let's get going on talking about. You can take it from wherever you want to the Warriors championship. Draymond's comments lately. I mean, they are all over the news again. It's like they are the NBA right now.
Well, I mean, there's a couple. I mean, yeah, playing at the G League Warriors Stadium here in town has been really fun. That's kind of straightforward. It's epic. The one of the president of operations, he's on the thread of the pickup games I play every Sunday, and he doesn't play often. I think he's injured potentially. I haven't seen him in months, but one of the days our gym was closed, and he connected with one of the guys, who runs the floor there. Basically, opens up the gym and does some of the operations down there. And the guy's name is Michael. He's great. So he let us in, and it's so much fun to play on an NBA sized court. The spacing's better. I mean, those first two games, NBA 3 is a thing, but by the end, I was feeling buttery with it, and it was great. I mean, the post I put was after we had been running 5-on-5 for 2 hours. So,
oh man,
yeah, like every Sunday it's 2 hours of 5-on-5, typically 12 to 13 guys. So you sometimes get rest. But that day we didn't. We only had 10 guys. So with that extra running on the floor, but a lot of us were tore up. But you're in that gym and you don't want to leave because everything's so nice. So, stayed an extra 30-ish minutes and played a few games at 3-on-3. And I was like, I'm going to throw the phone up and see how this goes. And it started real bad. But then, I turned it on a little bit at the end, made a pass or two and cut some buckets on my dudes. And that was that. But man, basketball is where it's at. It's all. I actually have a broken rib from basketball, or dislocated or broken. But somebody got a shoulder into me driving pretty hard. And I didn't let him go through me, and that was maybe my bad. But
you thought you were 20 again?
Yeah,
dog. I'm gonna play like I'm 20 again until I'm not playing anymore.
Exactly.
That's just where it's at.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the Warriors. The real thing is this, like. I probably said it on another podcast, but the team that, older, the team that just won this year, at least that core team with Clay, Draymond, Steph, and the couple of additions, the Looney, like basically the exact same team that won it pre-KD, right? Yeah. So in my mind, when people were hating about KD leaving, I was like, did y'all forget? Like it happened before.
Yeah.
And the team now with Wiggins, arguably however you feel or felt about him, which, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm a fan of the Warriors, and I'm a fan of how he finished. I don't think he deserved to be an all-star, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like the supporting cast for the Warriors, obviously Poole stepped up majorly, is better than the team that won it the year that they won it with that squad. So you think wisdom and how they play should get better with age, which I think you get smarter. For the most part, that seemed to happen, and the supporting roles came into play. And, we worked through some injuries through the year, and I don't know. I feel like we had the opportunity to begin with. I don't know where the hate came from, but I was surprised that we did as well as we did second half of the year and beat those teams out because we were pretty fucking streaky.
Yeah.
I don't like how wild Steph can get. Like, I think he's amazing. I don't want to get too far ahead of us. I don't like how wild they can all get. And then, I met Steve Kerr at that NBA.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right. I got to go to that
Team USA.
Camp and I got to talk to him. Yeah. And it's like, you understand, and he seems to understand that you have to give a long leash to some of these players to allow them to get into flow state. And there's some genius to that. And then what oftentimes comes with it is like the ugliest losing by 50 points to teams you shouldn't ever, because you get in your head.
They literally lost by 50 points to the Grizzlies.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's like, and the Grizzlies are going to be, anyway, that's a whole, we can talk about, we have that to talk about too. But the thing I will say about Wiggins, to circle all the way back, is he's kind of the unsung hero in terms of how many offensive rebounds he'd get. Like a lot of those games where we were kind of missing, he'd get offensive rebounds, and his 17 or 18 or near 20 would be mostly putbacks. Yeah. And those putbacks are what, historically to me, are the things that if we don't get those putbacks, that's where the momentum just keeps draining on the Warriors. They start like getting in their own heads and nobody makes a bucket. And then it's like, yeah, you're down 50 to the Grizz.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this team as opposed to some of their other championships is that there didn't seem to be that inevitability about it. Like what I didn't like about watching the KD Warriors is like, gosh, it would take something like an injury for them not to win. And this team, even though they felt very good the whole time, you never thought like there is no chance they can lose. There's always that possibility, and that just makes it more interesting to watch. And then the other part that I love about this team is that speaks to things that I personally just hold true about basketball, like the continuity, the feeling of an actual team. Like there have been some guys, like you said, that have been plugged in around that core, like Wiggins. But the thing that helps that facilitate that is Kerr still being there and having these like really experienced assistant coaches too. Like they had a guy who turned down a head coaching position to come back and be the assistant coach for the Warriors. Like,
yes.
What does that say about like the camaraderie and the feeling around that team when have a chance to move up and you're like, no, you know what? I'm good here. Like this environment is good enough for me. And I'm being fulfilled enough to have that level of talent as your assistant is, a real opportunity for the players and for the coaches.
Well, I think you got to think about Iggy too. Iggy's on the bench,
right?
Yeah,
and he's another coach, man. You could see him like when Wiggins was coming out, he's like in his face, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like, them are the people that don't get any credit most of the time that are huge for a team. Are the ones that keep shooting, you'll be fine. Like because that wasn't that long ago. I heard Dwayne Wade talking about it. They asked him who his greatest teammate was. And they said, well, everybody wants to hear LeBron James. But he goes, that's not how I grade teammates as far as how good they are. He's like, my greatest teammate's Haslam. He's like, no matter what I did, it could be in the game, it could be off the game, he's always had my back. Like if anybody would mess with me, he would be like up in their face. He's like, if I was having a bad start of the game, he was over there saying, man, it's no big deal you miss 5 shots. You'll hit your next 5. Like he always just had my back, and he goes like, you can't replace that, So
that's something I watch. I feel like you look, because I follow all these teams, and you look at how they interact together, and I don't see teams. I actually saw the Lakers, but they weren't winning, laughing. Unfortunate, kind of, but like the vibe of what it feels like when you watch them interact with each other is there's so much support from the last person on the bench. It's like Quindary seems to be a part of that team properly. And, I see him playing here in Santa Cruz mostly. Yeah. And he's like, like he's in it. And it feels like they're properly including this guy as much as you're right. Like, Iggy's coaching. There's something about the culture of that team that's really magical. And I do think you're right. Like Iggy's a huge part of it. I'm sure Draymond is. I actually don't even know. Like I think Steph is, but I don't think he is in the way that these other players that are supporting that assistant coaches, all of them, they're doing something to the heart and soul of how these people connect, and they're talking outside of I don't know, they're in the lab, something's going on there that makes it, you can feel it, right?
Yeah, you can juxtapose that against the Phoenix Suns, who from the outside seem to have been the favorite going into the playoffs, but they've got this weird thing going on with their owner, and then he's not willing to pay the money to Ayton, which is a whole other thing about the Warriors. Or they're willing to write the checks, and you want that out of your owner. Like the fans that we get to, I feel like as fans, like you get told by the media so much about the salaries, and I mean, I don't personally. I want to see like the best team that we can put out there. Like I don't care what the owner's paying. Mm-hmm. If he's losing all his money, don't care. Sell the team to Steve Ballmer. He could probably own two teams and still have plenty of money left over, and maybe he'd double his chances to win the championship. Right?
I don't think any of them are losing any money. I just ain't making as much money, and especially the Warriors. I'm sure that franchise is worth so much right now that it ain't even.
I'm telling you though, it is a weird thing. Even at that level, I was just listening to it today. Like you think about the Lakers and the Clippers, like Steve Ballmer is legit worth $100 billion. Like that's his worth. I mean, that's crazy money. Jeannie Buss, $500 million is what she's worth. So, I mean, a still crazy amount of money, but then when you're playing in the big leagues like that, it does. I mean, there is some difference, where some of these guys just have, it's basically bottomless, and they don't care. And, or it's just maybe a mind state that they have. And it seems like the Warriors guys, part of it is like, They value keeping people together and putting the best product on the court as opposed to their bottom line.
So as a big Warriors fan, do they pay Poole money, or they're talking about $100 million for 4 years? I mean, that's a lot of money for a guy that doesn't play no defense.
I know that's the thing about him, right? He doesn't play no defense.
Strays.
But, I mean, he doesn't play defense, but I mean that's what's interesting too. Like, neither did Curry kind of for a long time.
Yeah.
And now he does. He bulked up and he did. So I don't know. I guess that's where you got to like potentially trust the organization, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing is this track record of you have somebody in Curry who's going to be this probably top 10 and probably somebody saying like, you actually want to be top 10 of all time. You got to learn to play D. You know, like Jordan's all defensive player of the year. And that's why it's happened. Like people do that. So you got to at least, you don't even be defensive player of the year, but you got to be known as a defensive player if you want to be tops. And I think somebody's in his year. And so the quicks and what seems like the resilience and the agility, like Poole takes hits and falls and twists and stuff, and he seems to not get hurt. And that's kind of attractive in somebody who can do what he can do. Assuming he should get better the next 3 to 5 years.
He's got
3 years at least.
Yeah.
So you keep Poole and you get rid of Thompson?
Oh,
I mean, as a Warrior fan, it's got to be like,
you keep all of them.
No, you can't keep them all. That's the problem.
Try to keep them all.
No, because Wiggins' contract's up too. So like, and then you got Kuminga there. You got Moody.
But you're doing the thing.
We're over the top.
You guys have too many players. You can't keep them all.
Why can they not?
There's no way them young players are going to be happy. Just sitting there.
That's maybe the question, right?
Like,
will they be
now
happy?
they're happy because they just won a championship, but you give them like 1 or 2 more years, they're going to say, you need to trade me. If I'm not going to get a significant amount of minutes, you need to get rid of me because
that's fine.
They're young and they want to make contracts. Like they're not going to get contracts sitting on the bench, coming in and showing 5 minutes here or there.
Well, that's a different conversation. Like I still think you sign the guys, but then you trade them. Like if you see that they're not, like, let's say Clay, I don't think it's fair to judge him on what he's going to be going forward.
Oh no, I like
based
Clay
on this year because he was his first year back after 2 years off. But if he shows a decline next year even more for some reason, maybe you do think about then. Well,
the problem is
maybe he retires.
His contract's going to keep going up, right? Because that's the way it's set up, right? So I mean, are you going to pay Klay Thompson $35 million a year? I mean, I don't. Somebody will,
right? Somebody,
but
will.
the Warriors.
It's more than that, by the way.
I mean, even if it is, I'm saying he ain't worth $40 million a year at this
40.
point in his career. Like,
not right now. You're right.
No, like,
which is a bummer to say.
I mean, I like Klay, and I mean, obviously, as a Pacer fan, I would like Klay on my team. But for $40 million, like,
but you're thinking about it all wrong. You just keep, if you're the Warriors, because they've shown a resilience. You just keep all these guys, and then you.
Curry's gonna make like. What I think I saw $48 million.
He'll be up to 50.
So I mean, you can't be paying Curry 50 and Klay 40. We gonna tell Draymond he's gonna get 500,000 or what?
No,
yeah,
we can't pay them that much. The Warriors can pay. They can pay their own guys whatever they want.
They can't get to a $500 million a year.
They're gonna be at 400. They're gonna be at 400 million this year.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be a lot steeper though every year though. Like
I mean, I guess. If you're like spitballing ideas, right, of like an organization, what you can do is you can sign all those guys and then you're kind of setting them up for success in terms of what they're worth in the future.
Yep.
For whoever they go to, you're kind of like protecting their money. And then you're saying, hey, invest in this organization and we'll develop you, which we have a pretty significant track record of that. And you do only give them a year or two and say, hey, you're going to get, which Curry even did. I mean, if Curry's coming off the bench a little bit, everybody has to understand that this is a role-playing team, even though
I thought that was so. I thought that was so cool to that choice to make that choice and like not showing any discomfort in it. Like that'd probably be something that Westbrook should do at this point. I can't imagine him.
It's not happening.
I know, but the
it's like Iverson. Iverson couldn't take it either.
I know.
Like he wasn't coming off the bench and being like, "I'm cool with this nobody starting over me." He's like, I'm an MVP. Like, I'm playing. And Klay, I don't think Clay's going to be cool with it either. Now he's completely healthy.
Maybe not.
You could tell Klay was a little frustrated. He's the only one that I could feel frustration of coming to the bench of that whole team. He's the only one. And I'm not sure if that was ego or competitiveness, maybe a little both. And I'm sure he believes in himself. I mean, he's got sparks. You can see it's possible. He just seemed like he needed another. We'll see next year, I guess.
Is next year's last year before his contract?
He's got 2 years.
I think he's got 2.
Well, then I mean, he got 2 years to see if he
Draymond
gets
has
close back.
more.
But after 2 years, how old is he?
Yeah.
He's got to be 30s, right?
Mid-30s.
Mid-30s.
He's 30s for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you? Well,
Because if he was drafted 2011, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be 33 maybe.
Yeah.
Unless he came in early, actually, but still.
No, he's right around there, 33, 34.
Yeah.
What about, we haven't really talked about him yet, but what about Draymond Green? I mean, I got to hear your take on, have you listened to his podcast at all?
Yeah, I mean, I like listening to his podcast because it's just fun and he talks his shit and he's a smart guy. I mean, that's the thing. Him, like JJ Redick too, like all those guys are smart and I like that they actually know the game of basketball and talk it. Draymond is just polarizing, man. He's all over the place. There's something about him.
Yeah.
You know, like you look at his stats are weird kind of period. They're just weird. And I don't understand. Like, I wish I could hear what he's saying and how he isn't getting his text.
Yeah.
You know,
no kids around for that.
Damn, dude. Like, you know, like all over the place. So there's something about him that obviously makes everybody else better. Yeah. And he's wild. Again, him and Steph both can get a little too wild, and he's clunky. And he should shoot when he doesn't, and he should not shoot when he does. And it's just, but something seems to work. And Steve Kerr in that organization gets it. And again, I don't know if he'd fit anywhere else.
Oh no, we had this conversation.
I love him.
I said if he didn't go to the Warriors, he's probably not in the league.
See, I just
don't
don't.
Think so?
I don't know because you gotta have. No, I'm not saying that he would have made it probably 5-6 years maybe, but he'd never been close to the money he's getting now. Like,
I don't think so.
Because you got to have the right people around you. Like, he can't shoot. Like,
I'm telling you,
the Warriors move a lot.
I watched him. It was funny that you said that because I watched a Michigan State versus Duke game. It was Kyrie on the other side, which was funny. The YouTube algorithm working its magic last night, and Draymond's on the other team, and he was awesome. Like he looked great.
He was
Michigan
awesome
State.
in college,
but he did a version of all the things that he's doing now. So I actually came away with that from that thinking like, I don't know how nobody else saw that because he didn't go in the first round. And he has like, it is weird because he does a little bit of everything, but I think he actually fits on just about any team. Like because he can do kind of a little bit of everything, and he does it at in a way that helps you to control the game. So much about basketball isn't just about like doing one. You need those guys like Curry that can do that one supernova thing, right? And I get what you're saying. Like, you wouldn't want him on the Kings to keep picking on them. But if you put him on another good team, like if he was on the Bulls, he'd be fantastic on there. Like, that's one of their biggest weaknesses is defense. Now he's got Zach LaVine to pass to and DeMar DeRozan over here. And here's Vucevic right here. Like, and then he's playing defense, plugging up some of their holes. Like but he's a plug and play guy on a good team.
None of those guys take the attention that Curry takes. Like Curry takes so much attention.
Come on.
My point is Curry makes him better because everybody's paying attention to Curry, constantly moving. So that really brings out how good a passer Draymond is.
Sure.
Like DeRozan ain't moving like Curry. Like Curry doesn't stop. Like he just keeps running. So everybody, like I watched a clip where Curry didn't even score and he was part of like 15 points scored in a row just because they were leaving everybody to come to him and guys were getting wide open shots. Like, and then you put in Clay there, and Clay, before he got hurt, Clay was one of the best shooters in the league. So if you left Clay, he was going to be open. So then it's like Draymond wide open at the top of the key, gets the drive. They can either pick him up or he can pass it. Like, you're not getting that with other teams. Like, there is no other Clay and Steph combo in the NBA since Draymond's been
I'm not saying he's going to,
let's be honest. Like,
he's not going to
there's a reason they won 4 championships.
I'm not saying the Bulls would win the championship with Draymond Green. I'm just saying that if you put him in there, they'd be better than last year. Like, I think he makes a certain type of team better.
I mean, I think you're right there. I don't think he wouldn't be in the league. I think the Warriors are a big part of why he's so good, but I guess that's it, right? You have to be with an organization that doesn't need you to be a superstar, but can kind of like make you a superstar without those stats being there. And that's.
No, I mean, I think he's an unbelievable player. I'm not saying that he's not a good player. Like, everybody in the NBA is a good player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I'm not.
Draymond Green, if you're listening and preparing for a podcast, Robert Wire thinks that he would not be in the NBA.
Hey, there's a lot of guys that wouldn't be in the NBA.
He will come on and debate you.
It's a very short list.
You're going to be out there. You're going to be out there with Skip Bayless on his hit list. He's after Skip Bayless.
Talking about that, did you see where Bayless went off on Westbrook?
No, I didn't.
Westbrook. He called him Westbrick, and then he came back at him, and then he said, "Listen, you make $47 million a year next year. You could at least work on your jump shot." He's like, "You can say what you want."
On his jump shot.
Yeah.
He's like, "By now you should be able to hit a jump shot." And he should be able to shoot a little bit better than he does. Let's be honest. He can do everything except for shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for Westbrook because I think he's better than he's getting credit for. We all know that. We know that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that jump shot, man, being so streaky for so long. I mean, that when they played the Warriors, I was like, damn, this guy is insane. I'm glad he can't hit that jumper consistently, or we'd be done.
It's just, it's just weird. Some guys just can't shoot. That's been a thing for ages. Jason Kidd couldn't shoot until
true.
Think about that. He learned how to shoot. So why, if he can learn how to shoot, he was not a very good shooter
because he had to.
Why can't Westbrook learn how to shoot?
Well, he's not at Jason Kidd's stage. I mean, or maybe
who's better, Kidd or Westbrook? Who you taking? That's a good question. Who you taking, Kidd or Westbrook?
Wow.
I think it's
Kidd's the mastermind.
He's like the Mr. Triple Double.
I know. I'd take Kidd.
No. Westbrook is Mr. Triple Double.
He's
had a lot of good years. He's been really good for a long time. Why are you taking Kidd? Did Kidd win a championship?
Leadership.
Defense.
Not his leadership.
Yeah, defense.
I just think he's the leader.
Oh man, that did not be a debate.
That's the thing.
I like Kidd,
think Westbrook's making other people Westbrook's looking to other people and down to facilitate, and he's not selfish. But I don't think he's actually in anybody's ear making them better.
Yeah.
So how about
that's where Kids.
Worst case scenario, worst case against Westbrook is he had Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant left him because he didn't like playing with him.
What if you put Westbrook?
That's not good, right?
What if you put him back in Kidd's era though? Then he's the perfect point guard, right?
Oh man,
because he doesn't have to shoot. So when you say Kidd over him, if you put him in Kidd's shoes, he does everything that Kidd did, and he's even more explosive.
Or he gets injured because people could foul him.
Here we go.
Here we go.
I watched the thing the other day about Jordan.
Let's swing it back.
He wasn't really getting beat up as much as they made it sound like. They didn't have a baseball bat out there.
Let's swing it back to next year. Warriors, are they going to win it all next year? What do we think? Because the West is looking pretty fierce. I mean, you got Portland that's going to try and retool the tool. They got John Wall to the Clippers already, even though that can't even happen till Thursday. They've got the Lakers are going to try to do whatever the Lakers are going to try to do. You've got Memphis, like you had alluded to, is going to be better.
Yeah, they are.
It's going to be a gnarly season. I mean, again, we can. The fact that we took the teams that we did, I said at the end of the day, it's going to be competitive. And I like that. You said, I was not confident about that Boston team.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And I actually, I was kind of skeptical.
Yeah.
But then it just kind of seemed like the experience took over for that one.
Yeah. It was cool. That was a cool series. That was a real classic series, how this experience. And it seemed like the really mentally, they seemed to beat Boston just mentally by that fifth game. Boston just seemed they weren't locked in, or I don't even know what was going on with Tatum. I'd love to hear that side of it. Something just happened to that guy where he scored 47 points against Giannis on the road in that game 6 versus Milwaukee. That's not the same guy that was at the end of that.
He had to be hurt. Yeah. He just wasn't the same player.
Or mentally, remember?
7-game series back to back, basically. Yeah. You're getting just tired, you know,
Yeah, but you still drive the hole. He's one of the elite players. Curry was still going to the hole, and so was the rest of them. So it was just weird. It seemed like Brown was more engaged than Tatum was, and it was supposed to be Tatum's team, right? So I don't know. Maybe Tatum grows from this. Maybe it's like the Kobe Bryant version of him airballing it in the finals, and it drives him that much harder. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm sure his handles are so good. Tatum, I was really surprised. And maybe the defense that we played on him was more in his head than I would assume. You assume being a superstar that us D'ing him up pretty well a couple games isn't going to do it to him. You're going to bounce back, and he just never did.
Never did.
You're right. Jalen was the guy.
Yeah.
And I was more afraid of Jalen in that series. And I was just waiting. I was like, dude, there's no way. Like he's going to have like a 20-point quarter any second. And it just never happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's up with that. It's got to be the mind game.
Maybe Wiggins was bigger part of the game than you think.
I think it was the combination.
He's really athletic.
I think it was the combination. He
Yeah.
sent, because the other thing is they sent Draymond at him as the secondary guy, and that's tough. Again, like underestimated to have a guy like Wiggins on you as the primary defender, and then to have Draymond running at you. If you get even an inch of daylight or meeting you at the rim, I mean, that's that's hard. You're gonna know every time. Like they were so locked in on him. They were like, someone else beat us, Jalen was doing his part, but nobody else on the Celtics brought it too. That's the other part that hurts those guys. When you key in on one guy, you let one guy go off, you got to have then bench guys or role players. Somebody else has got to step up. Like Smart and who was it? They had that big first game. Horford had hit the threes when they won that first game.
Well, they were on fire.
On fire.
They
Yeah.
hit like 11 out of like 14 threes in the fourth quarter. It was just insane.
You gotta get that though. That's the thing that the Warriors did get, like Poole hitting that crazy bank. You got to get those little plays.
I felt like Curry carried him all the way through the.
Well, he did this time.
Like he really if it wasn't for him on that team and being like superhuman, like I don't think they beat him.
Yeah.
No,
like he doesn't get nearly enough credit. Like he had like them 2 threes was like by the almost half court he gets fouled and he just hits nothing but net. Yeah. Like just incredible shots.
Even he needed
and he just gets back up and runs on the court. Like
even he needed a game though. He went 0 for 9 for the first time in his playoff career. So everybody needs, that support, even him.
So
yeah, he finally went 0 for.
So it sounds like you're on the fence if you love Curry or not.
Oh no,
earlier.
I love Curry.
Like, is he in your top 10 then? Or because I kind of felt like you were a little hesitant earlier about how great you think he is.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I think he's great. 10. It's just top 10 is such a thing to say. There's top 10. There's
Jordan.
Is he not the greatest shooter in history?
No, he for sure is the greatest shooter and like is insanely amazing. To me, he's the first person that I've ever experienced in the NBA besides Jordan, where I'm like, that's going in for sure every time.
Yeah.
I don't think I felt that way about anybody. Yeah. So in that context, how he makes you feel, you can say, yeah, top 10, kind of no brainer like that. Like who made you feel like that? Not a lot of people. I don't like how wild he gets occasionally. So maybe that's more of the critique is it's just like, he'll have these games where you're just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like this is all, no, we know.
Yeah. The weird behind the back pass at a random time.
He gets bored.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that's it. But no, I do think like you watched him in this last series.
Yeah.
I mean, that player barely got to the free throw line.
I know.
That's insane to me.
Yeah.
And he went to the rack a lot
time.
more than he did in the past. And in the past, he did it mostly on threes. He did it on threes and a lot of twos and a lot of going to the rim. And in all these series, which I do like, they let him play a lot more. Like there was fouls on all sides a lot. They got no calls. But he got a lot of like pretty obvious no calls. And I'd say that's arguable across the board, I'd say. But like for him to be kind of small and just getting domed right in front of you and not getting a call for it over and over and still put up those 30 and not go to the line almost at what, like 4 times a game, maybe?
Yeah, it wasn't very much.
That's so low for the guy who's putting up 30 points kind of on average. So that to me proved it. Like you said, like he carried the team. And I'd never seen him carry the team like that, This wasn't nobody's covering him on 3 balls and they keep laying off him like kind of OKC shit. It was like, you're doing it. I don't know how this is happening and you're doing it. Good job.
Well, and I think that besides the shooting, like I said earlier, I think he just brings like a different dimension to the game, that he spreads the floor out so much that it makes all of his teammates so much better. And you can't take that for granted. Like they literally have to guard him, 10 foot behind the line? So like you're setting a high screen and roll on the other side. They can't even leave him and he can just stand out there. Like that space for the rest of the players. Like, has there been a player ever like that that's played in the NBA?
No.
You know what I mean? So when you're talking about having a top 5 ever, I mean, what guard besides Jordan are you taking that can totally spread the floor out like that and shoot with guys in his face? Because he's shot with everybody in his face. Like it ain't facing him. So who's better?
Yeah, no, I mean, in that context, you're kind of right. And not only that, like
Well,
he's
that's a
getting
different conversation.
6 to 8
Yeah.
rebounds too.
Yeah, that's a different
the thing.
conversation.
He's rebounding. He's getting rounded. His game is round. He's getting a lot of assists a game. Like
He's incredible dribbler,
his
playmaker.
his
like,
defense still. I know you guys are saying that it improved, but I mean, just the fact that you have to say that it has improved means that it wasn't very good at one point, and so
It wasn't.
I feel like that has to be mentioned, especially not in the context of him being incredible, but in the context of top 10 ever. Because again, like I think that when you start comparing him to the guys in that list, like Kobe Bryant is in kind of that same 10, 11, 12 area. Like he absolutely for part of his career was one of the best defenders in the league as well. And so I don't think you could ever say that about Steph. Like he was never one of the best defenders at his position, even let alone in the league.
but you can say he's the greatest shooter ever, though. And
Sure.
none of those other guys you can say that ever. Like it's not even comparable. Jordan was not shooting 15 foot behind the line with somebody in his face drilling threes. Like what he's done has been. I'm not saying that Jordan wasn't a great scorer because he was obviously, but
Well,
he's
are
the
you
greatest
putting-
shooter.
What do you sound like? You're putting him number one all the time. What are you
No,
talking
no,
about?
I'm saying that makes up for the defense. Like you
Makes
you
up
have
for
to.
the defense.
I mean, you could say like who you putting in there? You putting Bill Russell in for him?
For sure.
I mean, in his era,
for sure.
It's
in
not
his
close.
era, so you're going for
He's
the
a-
rings because he was tall and athletic back then. But you're not going to give it for Curry because he can shoot 10 foot behind the line, 15 foot.
So here's
Like,
the-
I mean, I
so
think
here's
it's
the
kind of a,
thing.
you put Curry back in their era, imagine what he does back then.
No, we can't.
Come on now.
We can't do that. I don't think that's fair to do that because we've tried that with other, even with those, even with the redrafts. Like you just can't do that. That's not fair. Because again, like you can do the opposite. What if Michael Jordan played now where there's no fouls? He'd average 50 points a game.
You
Like,
put Magic in before him?
I do. I think
So you think Magic
Oh,
right
yeah,
now
you
is
put Magic.
Magic's in my top
at point
five.
guard right now? You think that Magic would be that good in the NBA?
I think so. So the way
He can't shoot at all.
here's the way I
He
thought
can't
about
shoot
it.
at all.
Listen,
and that 6'9" ain't gonna do nothing in the post. Everybody's 6'8", 7 foot, blocking, athletic.
This is the way I thought
So
about it.
come on, man.
It's not fair to transpose eras. I just don't think that's.
But you're doing that with Curry?
I don't think that's fair because they're only the product. Because there's all kinds of other stuff too. Like, hey, Bill Russell had to sleep, couldn't sleep in hotels. He had to sleep at like his
No,
friend's
I'm not
house
saying that it wasn't a big
because
deal.
black people weren't allowed in the hotel. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
what if Curry had to go through all that stuff? What if Curry had to be called like horrible?
Okay,
thing?
well,
You know,
you're
would he
changing
have-
the whole thing, the
Well,
narrative.
So were you. What do you mean?
I'm saying, I'm talking about athletic ability and the change of the game.
You're talking about how the game has changed. And I
Yeah.
just think that that's not fair because part of what is allowed for people to, shoot as well as he can is access to facilities, is the fact that his dad played in the NBA.
Then why isn't
Is that-
everybody shooting like him?
Well, I mean, I'd say that that's also happening.
Who
more,
is?
more people are. The fact that there hasn't been another best, shooter
He
ever.
changed the game.
He's still in the league right now. I mean, who knows like how long it'll take. Maybe he'll be the best forever. Maybe he won't. Like I don't know. Like we thought there would never be another Jordan. There still hasn't been, I would argue. But Kobe got pretty
Yeah.
close though. So there's gonna be someone that gets close to Steph eventually. I mean, Lillard got into the ballpark for a minute. He wasn't there. He
For
wasn't
a minute. Curry's been doing it for a long time.
He wasn't there, but I'm just saying, like, it's not an impossibility. I think there could be another Curry. Like, someone could come along and do what he did. And I just think, like, if you look at 10-year periods, for me, Magic Johnson's 10-year run from 1980 to 90, 91.
How many? I don't even know.
is
How
the
many
best
championships does
five.
Johnson have?
He's got 5.
Okay.
So I just
But he
think,
had Kareem on his team,
and he
arguably one of the best big guys in NBA history. So, I mean, you have to put that in the equation.
He was not by the middle of that era. He was
Compared to that show, he was really good.
He came in. Yeah, he came in 1969 to the league. So I don't know.
Kareem the Dream, dude, taught him the hook.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I just
it's a great debate. I'm not saying that. Hey, listen, if you're talking about top 10, you could argue probably 20 dudes.
You're all
Literally,
over the
and
place,
you can
yeah.
go all
I
over
don't
the
know.
place. Everybody's gonna have their own point of view.
Yeah.
The truth is, it's just really one person's perspective.
he's
over
not
somebody
not
else.
in my top 10 right now. He's
Yeah.
close.
The thing about his shooting is that nobody is as clutch in the face, with the exception of Jordan. Kobe kind of too, actually. But like those are kind of the 3 that come to mind that are like, I'm shooting over anybody no matter what, and
That's
I will
interesting.
make it. And
Yeah.
that to me the thing with those other two against Curry is he's shorter.
Do you feel like I feel like he's even improved on that too, because
I agree.
He kind of got knocked on that in in that first finals where he somehow didn't win MVP and Iguodala got that MVP.
Yeah,
that was part of the big thing, was like, oh, they could D him up at the end of the games or whatever.
Well,
I mean, yeah, he's streaky sometimes, but he can hit shots in people's faces where you're like, how did that just happen?
Yeah.
So I got one quick question, then we can move on. So if you had to pick say you had to pick two centers, who are you taking?
What do you mean two?
In your top 10.
Two. Well, I don't know if I just picked two.
Well, why are you going to pick more?
Oh,
I don't understand why
I'm not doing position.
Right,
I don't
'cause you
think
gotta
top
do
10
two,
players
two, two,
ever.
Because you're probably going to pick Kareem and Bill, right?
I'm not
so
doing my
you're going to
starting
leave Shaq
five.
out, and then
No. I'm not doing my starting five. The top 10 ever is just like top 10 best players ever. Now, I'm not putting them together on a team necessarily. These are just like the top.
So you
10
could just
best
pick
players.
10 guards if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Is Kyrie there?
No way. You don't even know if he'd show up if he was part of the team.
Wow.
They'd be like, you're part of the top 10. He'd be like, I'm going to take off this month.
Hey, speaking of that,
Namaste, bro.
Good transition. Free agency starts tomorrow. Where do you want to see Kyrie go? He said, here's his quote: "Normal people keep the world going, but those who dare to be different lead us to tomorrow. I've made my decision to opt in. See you in the fall." A11.
Yeah. I mean, he's always seemed to love New York, so I'm like, maybe he just should show up and prove it. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's all over the place. Is it the organization? I don't know, man. I don't know enough inside of what's going on over there.
I know.
But I love watching him play.
I would love to have Kyrie on a podcast. He'd be great just talking, because he has these off the wall stuff that he says. He seems to generate a lot of interesting content. I would not like to play with him on a team in a team sport. If he was a tennis player, he'd be fantastic. He'd be Andre Agassi, the new version of it.
Yeah,
I can't tell.
It's too hard to tell with him. I mean, what he set out for like a while, because he said he would get his mind right. And then this year with the COVID thing, like if he was a Pacer, I'd be mad.
Yeah,
just because you can't. I mean, you have this unbelievable talent. He's probably, arguably the second best guard in the NBA right now, right? Like, I think Curry's the best. He's probably the second best when he plays, right? Mm-hmm. But if he doesn't come to play, then what does it matter? Then you just, I don't know. It would just be extremely frustrated if I was an Nets fan. And now you got Ben Simmons on your team? Like, come on. Like, that couldn't be two of the worst, not the worst players, two of the worst decision makers as far as they're going to do whatever they want to do for them, and they don't really care about anything.
How would you like to be Steve Nash right now? What would you be doing?
Well, they said that Kyrie was doing practices after the practice. Did you hear that?
No.
They said that after the practice was over, he would conduct his own practices.
With the team?
Yeah. Like, he was doing his own practices. So basically he was saying Nash doesn't know anything, that he was going to teach him how to play.
This last year.
Can you imagine that?
No, it sounds like, not enough unity.
Yeah.
Like, well, I think that, like, there's a line that you shouldn't cross or whatever, and that's definitely a line that you don't cross, right?
Maybe Jay-Z needs to get up in there and start leading, dog.
Yeah, where's KD in all this? Like, he's the one who, ultimately controls the power here, right? Like, you want to talk about somebody who has the potential to be a leader. Everybody's looking at Kyrie, but where's KD at this? Because the Warriors, you want to talk about Wiggins. I remember at the start of this year, he hadn't gotten the vaccine either. And putting aside like how you feel about the vaccine, like, I think it's part of a team, like, they decided together to talk to him and convince him like we have a purpose together, and he bought into that. And I just think that, I don't know where the Nets missed, but I don't think it's just Kyrie. It has to be organizational. It has to be on the real leaders of the team. Kevin Durant's the real leader of that team. He's the one who stood by Kyrie, because if he had said, I don't want this guy on my team, like he did with Harden, Kyrie would have been gone too.
Yeah, but Harden was there too, though, right? So Harden should have been stepping up too, right?
Maybe on Harden too.
They're both weren't no shows. Harden didn't really have that great of a season either.
Yeah,
he played, but he was missing in action during the whole playoffs. Like, what did they say? He didn't shoot one shot the whole second half of the game they lost or something. It was like something ridiculous. Like, how can you be this elite scorer and not get one shot off?
That's insane to me.
Yeah.
That's literally insane to me.
His is pretty well documented at this point. I think it's a mental thing. Like he's pretty famous for not showing up in big playoffs games.
Yeah, but not even
going back to the Rockets.
I mean,
so
that's you traded for him, and you gave him Simmons that can't hit free throw.
Well, he didn't even play. I think they traded for Harden because he was going to be
Simmons probably made the best
court.
choice, because if he'd came back in the playoffs and he would have had a bad playoffs, like he may never played again.
Oh, wow.
You see that rant about KD today? I think
No.
it was today. Maybe it was the last couple of days. One of the dudes, I forget which network it was on, is going off, and he's dropping this claim that without KD going to the Warriors, he's got almost the exact same resume and run as Harden.
Wow.
And he's not wrong with the numbers, but it's
Yeah.
like attitude-wise, I think he's a completely different guy. But his
Totally
argument was like,
KD.
I'm always taking KD over, but it's just he's making that argument.
I could see
KD
that,
and Harden
though.
have a similar run in terms of like exact
numbers.
stats across the board.
Yeah.
And the only difference is KD went to the Warriors and got, some chips.
Yeah,
And
they would definitely be looking at KD a lot different if he didn't go to the Warriors.
Yeah.
Right?
Like they would. It would be. They would definitely be putting him in the same.
But he knew
sentence
that.
as
But
Harden.
he knew that too. Like, that's
Right.
that's part on him. I just think that
He shouldn't have left.
shouldn't have left.
Because if he didn't leave and he stayed with the Warriors and they win a couple more chips, like the whole narrative changes for him, right? He becomes like a. Then they start talking about him being a top 20 player. I'm
wondering, does he
it
need more
totally
coaching?
changes the narrative
Yeah.
for him.
Right. Like, is KD in need of coaching? I don't understand that a little bit, because I feel like what he did is he's like, okay, I think I got it. I can go lead a team. And yeah, there's some injuries and stuff, but like he didn't. It's kind of he didn't, and he had Kyrie and Harden to play with. Like, not a lot, unfortunately. So maybe this season you see something different. But
I mean, if you'd have told me that a Kyrie team and a Kevin Durant team was going to lose, they lost the first round, right? Like, I would not have believed that. I mean, swept even. Like, how do you the two of possibly the better scorers ever in the NBA lose in the first round? And arguably, you could probably say they're both still in their prime.
Well, I mean,
with Harden.
Yeah, this year was Jason Tatum was awesome on Durant, and Kyrie after the first game, he stunk. Like you mentioned him being one of the two best guards in the league. I don't think he's close, guys. I think that you want to talk about somebody that lasted on legacy. Like, what has Kyrie done? Not just this last year, but the year before that. I mean, with the Celtics, what did he do with them? Like he quit on the Celtics before he even got a chance to quit on the Nets. Like, this guy's 4 years out from the real peak when he was with the Cavs. Like, when he was with the Cavs playing against the Warriors, that's the Kyrie that I think we all have in our minds. The guy who's been around the last 4 years, I don't think he's in I think he's barely an all-star at this point, because I think when he's out there, he's incredible, but availability is a skill too. Like, that gets, that's a real thing. Like, if you're not going to show up, he's missed 103 games the last 2 years. Like that matters.
Talking about that.
Props to you, Coach. You're right.
Do you think that John Wall is going to be any kind of player this year? It's a serious question.
Yeah.
Is he? I mean, he has played 5 games in 4 years.
I just saw him at
something like that. It's something crazy.
You've got Bobby's got the 5-star, the 1995 5-star shirt on. 5 stars this week in Miami, and John Wall was there today. So he was one of the player coaches for the kids. So he looked good. I think his will be about mentality, right? So is he coming back with that Allen Iverson mentality, or is he coming back to be a part of the team? Because he could be good. I think his catch and shoot numbers are like 40%. So he can shoot.
4 years ago,
no, career catch and shoot.
4 years ago. That's
not
4 years without playing. He's played I forget the stat. It's like 5 games in 4 years. Like, you're talking about 4 years. No, I'll look it up. It's something
he's
insane.
Never been my guy.
Google that.
It's insane.
That's not right.
I'm telling you right now, it's insane. He didn't play a game last year.
I've never thought, like, even watching him, I think he's good. I never thought he was great. I think he's like a way above average. Like,
he's Westbrook, but not as good.
I think so, yeah. And
because he's aggressive, he's attacks, but he can't shoot.
He played 40 games in 2020-21. So
how many the year before? How many the year before?
He didn't. That was when he was injured.
So he played 40 games in the last, and the year before
he's played 40 in the last 3 years.
What about the year before? Because I think
insane.
He played 32 that
So
year.
he's played 70 games in 4 years. I mean, think about that.
I know.
I mean, that's not
Less
very
than
many
a
games.
season.
How many?
Less than a season out of 4.
How many's Clay played in the last 4 years?
Well, he just got done playing and won a championship. Like, he proved that he can come back and play. Hall hasn't played in a year.
He would have played last year. Houston didn't allow him to play. That wasn't his choice. It's not like he's like, oh, I don't want to play.
Well, I know, but it's still a year not playing. Like, that has to affect a player not to play at all, right?
I don't know.
Was he running in practice, or was he not even practicing?
Yeah, he was practicing.
He was practicing, right?
Yeah.
He was a
Still not game time,
$43 million practice player.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, I
It's
heard
not the
like
same. Like,
anecdotally, like from people who like saw him doing workouts and playing, that he looked awesome. Like he'd be playing 3-on-3 before games and looked great. And so I don't know. I think it's worth a flyer. They're not paying any money for him. It's not like
he was that good,
Clippers aren't playing $40 million.
The thing is, if he's that good, right? Like, how could they not traded him?
That's different.
If he was that good, I mean, if you're in practice and you're killing it,
I didn't.
And you let him play for a couple games, show that he still got it, and then you trade him.
Well, no, that's because you have to send back equal salary. So you have to send back $43 million in salary. So what team has
Lakers
have 2 guys
Westbrook for Wall,
right? But the Houston didn't want Westbrook back. So they
paid for Wall.
What do you mean?
They paid off his contract
this year. But
yeah,
that was
the $41 million.
That was trade deadline.
I mean, that's insane.
Right.
They paid 41. It's like $41 million or something like that.
I don't know.
Like, just to be like, hey, leave.
Well, they paid $43 million last year to have him sit on the bench. So
this is crazy.
Consulting.
So you think he's still an all-star, huh?
Yeah, I do.
You think he's an all-star still?
No, he's probably not an all-star anymore.
I don't think he's an all-star.
Yeah.
I think he's good. I think he'll be helpful for that team.
Yeah, I think
is he better than Derrick Rose?
I think he's in that.
Derrick Rose has been solid the last couple
I think he's in that.
So you're thinking that ballpark?
I think he'd be in that ballpark.
Backup point guard.
Why not? Right?
Okay, well that's not different than.
I think he could be like 16 points a game.
16?
Yep.
That's still pretty good.
That's my vibe.
Yeah.
That's my vibe. 16, 17 points a game for him.
Well, does Paul George and the Kawhi actually play the whole season, or
they do?
Hopefully
they're gonna be the team that could beat the Warriors. I think they'd be awesome because they got players on players. That team.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
That team's
if they stay healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, these injuries, same thing. You would never expected LeBron and that team to not make the playoffs, and they don't even make the playoffs. It's like same thing as the KD, Kyrie, all that. It's like, come on. There's no possible way you're not making.
Are the Lakers in the playoffs this year?
If they're not, then poor LeBron's got to figure out something.
I think Bron tries to make an escape.
I don't think he can. I don't think
from LA.
I don't think they make it. Right?
I mean, AD cannot stay healthy at all. Like he needs to play a lot.
Healthy, he's got to be just better. He's just not good enough.
I just don't think that
should be.
Westbrook gets any better with this team. I think it's a bad fit, and I think AD's hurt.
Coaching, right? Yeah.
And I think that LeBron, as good as he still is, he's not LeBron from the Cavs. Like, he plays off on defense. He decides when he wants to play, when he doesn't want to play. Like, and for the quality of people he has around him, I just don't think it's enough.
Yeah, he's been in the league for 20 years.
I know, that's what I mean. Like, he needs to be in a better situation with better players.
Some of the guys that got drafted this year were not born when he entered the league.
He can't. He's not. Can he carry a team at the end, like a couple of games? Yes, but he can't be carrying a whole season.
Yeah.
That's what it's. Yeah, he's gonna. But the thing is, he's gonna be hungry. However he's gonna finish, he's gonna want to finish strong.
I agree.
So at least
he's got
back to the Cavs.
Back to the Cavs.
Geez, something.
Hey, the Cavs look like they have a lot of young guys.
Yeah.
No, he's going.
Put him on that.
He's going with your boy
OKC team.
That's right. He's going with your boy Chet. Your boy Chet to OKC.
Oh,
Holmgren and LeBron and
because they said they were going to draft Bronny Jr. That's why.
Oh, did they?
Because they got all those they got so many draft picks. They got like 9.
They can just waste them. Like, we'll give him a top 10 pick if you come join us.
Could.
That would be crazy, wouldn't it? They would draft him just so they get LeBron.
Maybe KD wants to go home again too and finish up there. You never know.
Now you're getting crazy.
You just dream scoping yourself.
That's right. All right, Jared. Let's get you out on a couple of quick hitters. What sports do you watch in the summer once basketball is over? What are you checking out? Are you going straight Netflix?
No, I mean, you're right. Basketball's it that I get into. I get so sad and depressed when basketball's over. Yeah. So I'll throw on some surfing here and there, and then I'll just actually watch more basketball.
Summer League,
like YouTube.
Summer League, yes.
Summer League. I'll just go YouTube and watch other games, like or a basketball movie like Hustle. You know what I'm saying? Like, Yeah, basketball is where it's at for me, and I'm really busy. So if it's not that, sometime whatever I can throw on that I don't have to watch like at a specific time, because I set aside time for NBA games, and fortunately there's a lot of them. But other than that, whatever I can find.
Speaking of serving, be careful out there. Did you see that at Lover's Point there in PG? That guy that got attacked? Jeez, that's scary.
People do that. Yeah, I stay out of. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. I stay in places where there's a lot of reef and kelp, and they don't stay away to play there.
That was close to the shore, though. I've been to that beach.
Close.
Yeah, I've been to that beach a bunch of times. Anyways,
well, they get close.
Best meal you've had recently?
Best meal I had was a place called Lazy Bear. I got to go there for my birthday, and it's like a Michelin star situation, like 14 courses, full psycho. Yeah, eating stuff that looks like different stuff, like you see.
Wait, like what are you talking about?
Like it's like you get these plates where they're like, yeah, this is like beets, and you're all, oh, sick, beets, and then you put it down in front of you, and it looks like a forest with stuff, and there's other things mixed in, and it doesn't taste like beets, and you're like, whoa. And you eat 14 little meals and you're not overly full, and it's like 3 hours later and you're like, 3 hours just went by? Holy shit, that's insane. So I got to eat like a rich person for a minute, and it was sick. I saved up for it.
That's
like $300,
awesome. Wow,
over the
incredible. Top. That's incredible. Yeah. Have you watched? There's a new show out that I've been watching. It's amazing. It's called The Bear. It's on Hulu. The guy goes back. You'd relate this as a business owner too. His brother takes over his brother's beef joint, like the beef sandwich joint, and it's the kid from if you ever seen the show Shameless, one of the stars of that show.
Is it good?
Yeah,
I saw it on there. I just haven't watched it.
Good. Yeah, really good.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's in Chicago.
Super good.
Yeah, it's super good. Yeah, and he was like a Michelin star chef, and then comes back and takes over this beef joint in Chicago.
Yeah, dog. Yeah, gotta make that beef.
That's right. Got to make that beef every day. Thank you for listening to Hardwood History, a weekly podcast by 19.9. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a rating and review. 5 stars only, like the basketball camp. Till next week.